What was supposed to be just another glamorous night in Las Vegas has turned into one of the most talked about scandals in boxing right now. Two sons of a legend, Amado Vargas and Fernando Vargas Jr., have gone viral, not for a spectacular knockout or a title win, but for something most fighters pray never reaches the cameras: a physical fight with each other in the middle of a luxury hotel, and not in some hidden hallway either. The altercation took place right inside the Wynn, one of the most famous and exclusive resorts in Vegas, in front of guests, staff, and plenty of people holding up their phones. Within hours, footage of the scene was all over social media. What looked like a private argument between brothers instantly became public property, shared, replayed, slowed down, and debated by fans who frankly still don't fully understand what set it off. For those who follow boxing closely, that's what makes this moment so shocking. This isn't just any pair of brothers. Amado Vargas and Fernando Vargas Jr. are part of a recognized boxing dynasty. Their father is Fernando "El Feroz" Vargas, a former world champion and one of the most exciting fighters of his era, who went toe-to-toe with icons like Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley. For many fans, the Vargas name carries real weight. It's boxing royalty. Now, instead of talking about the next big fight in the family, everyone is talking about a fight that never should have happened: brother versus brother in the lobby of a five-star hotel. The video that's circulating doesn't tell the whole story, but it shows enough to leave an impact. You can see the tension, see people trying to separate them, and feel the awkwardness in the room as onlookers watch two grown men, two professionals, lose control in a very public space. There's no referee, no bell, no gloves, just raw emotion and a lot of confusion. Almost immediately, the questions started popping up everywhere. What could possibly drive two brothers this close to each other and this tied to the same family legacy to explode like that in such a public way? To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to understand who these men are and the expectations that follow them. Fernando Vargas Jr., 29, was seen as one of the brightest prospects at 154 pounds. Before his last outing, he had built up a spotless professional record of 17 wins and no losses. In September, he fought Irish contender Callum Walsh on the undercard of the massive Canelo Alvarez vs. Terence Crawford event, a huge stage for any fighter, especially a rising one with a famous last name. Since that night, he hasn't stepped back into the ring, and fans have been wondering what his next move would be. His younger brother, Amado, is also a professional boxer, sharing the same path and the same last name in a sport that never stops comparing siblings. And they're not the only ones. Another brother, Emiliano Vargas, has become the latest big hope from the clan, racking up a 16-0 record and positioning himself for his own breakthrough. He's scheduled to fight for the NABF and WBO Latino titles on February 28th, a key stepping stone toward more prestigious belts and higher profile opportunities. So even before this incident in Las Vegas, the Vargas brothers were already under a spotlight. They weren't just trying to build individual careers, they were seen as the next generation of a boxing dynasty, the heirs of El Feroz, and all the expectations that come with that. It's hard enough being one of the many young fighters trying to stand out in a crowded sport. It's something else entirely when you're also carrying a famous surname. Fans are calling you the next Vargas, and every move you make is judged not only on its own merits, but in comparison to your father's legacy. That pressure can be a privilege and a burden at the same time. And then this happens. The viral clip from the Wynn doesn't come with subtitles. No context pops up on the screen explaining what was said before or after. So social media did what it always does. It filled in the gaps with speculation. Nothing has been officially confirmed by the family or their representatives about what triggered the fight, but that hasn't stopped people online from floating their theories. One of the leading rumors suggests that the argument may have started over a personal issue involving Fernando Jr.'s partner. Some fans are convinced that emotions over a relationship spilled over into a full-blown confrontation on neutral ground. Plenty of users commenting on the video are saying things along the lines of, "This has to be about a woman," implying that only something as deeply personal as a romantic dispute could make two brothers lose control in such a public setting. Others took a different angle. They weren't as interested in what caused the fight as they were in how it looked. A lot of people zeroed in on the fact that Fernando Jr., as the older brother, didn't step back or de-escalate things before it got physical. Some fans expressed disappointment, arguing that someone in his position, with his experience and age, should have been the one to walk away, especially inside a well-known hotel full of strangers. On the other hand, there were also those who tried to downplay it. They pointed out that siblings argue, that brothers can be extremely competitive and emotional, especially when they grow up in a tough sport like boxing. For them, this was nothing more than a family dispute that happened to be caught on camera at the wrong time. But that's the point. It was caught on camera, and in 2026, that changes everything. There were plenty of voices online saying they would never let a fight with a brother or sister spill out in front of an audience. Some called it embarrassing. Others said they feared what this would mean for their father, insisting that Fernando Sr. must be furious to see his last name trending for all the wrong reasons. Not for a highlight reel, not for a belt being raised, but for a scuffle in a hotel lobby. That's where the royal family style angle comes in. When you're part of a sporting dynasty, you don't just represent yourself. You represent a whole name, a family brand, a legacy that fans have grown attached to over decades. The Vargas family is not just any family in boxing. Fernando Vargas Sr. has a place in the sport's history, memorable wars against elite opponents, a reputation for fighting with heart, a fan base that still remembers those nights.
Seeing his sons involved in this kind of public mess inevitably raises questions. Is the weight of the name starting to show? Is the pressure outside the ring becoming harder to manage than the pressure inside it? Boxing, like the royal families many of you follow, is as much about image as it is about reality. There's the public narrative, the proud father passing on the torch, the sons training side by side in the gym, the next chapter of a great story. And then there's what happens away from the cameras, the tension, the rivalries, the misunderstandings, the private arguments that rarely reach the outside world. This time, one of those private cracks became visible for everyone. From a commercial standpoint, this couldn't come at a worse time. With Emiliano on the verge of a bigger spotlight, with promoters and networks looking at the Vargas name as marketable, sponsors want stability. They want clean narratives, hard work, family unity, triumph over adversity. What they don't want is viral footage of two of the main faces of that boxing dynasty throwing hands in a hotel with security and hotel guests in the background. In an era where clips can be clipped, edited, memed, and reshared endlessly, your worst moments don't go away. They resurface every time your name trends. And that's where this incident has real consequences. Potential advertisers and promoters look at more than just knockouts and scorecards now. They look at reputation. They look at how you behave in public, how controllable a situation might be, and whether your name is associated with inspiration or controversy. A late-night argument that once might have been forgotten after a few days in the local rumor mill can now follow you into negotiation rooms for years. That's not to say this one incident will destroy their careers. It probably won't. But it does mean the Vargas brothers might have to work harder than before to redirect the narrative back to the ring. And that's especially true for Fernando Jr. At 29, with a strong early record and a high-profile appearance on the Canelo-Crawford undercard, he was right on the edge of either taking that next big step or stalling out. Long layoffs, like the one he's on now, always raise questions in boxing. Is he injured? Is he regrouping? Is he changing trainers? Or now, people will add, is the pressure at home and inside the family unit affecting his focus? For Amato, who is still building his own path, being associated with this kind of spectacle so early in his career doesn't help either. Everything about young fighters is fragile. Momentum, reputation, public goodwill. One clip like this doesn't define you, but it does stick. And then there is Emiliano. He's not in the video. He wasn't part of the fight. Yet, as another son of Fernando Vargas and a key figure in this new generation of boxing, he also feels the ripple effect. When people talk about the Vargas brothers, they don't always separate who did what. It all blends into one family image. Now picture their father in all this. Fernando El Feroz Vargas built his name the hard way, stepping into the ring against some of the most dangerous men in the sport, taking punishment, giving it back, earning the respect of fans around the world. He spent years parlaying that reputation into a new role: trainer, mentor, and head of the Vargas family boxing unit. He's built gyms, appears in media, and constantly supports his sons' careers. For someone like that, proud and protective, this kind of public scandal has to hurt, not just as a businessman or a public figure, but as a father. It's his surname out there on everyone's timeline. It's his royal house, in a boxing sense, that suddenly looks less controlled, less unified, more chaotic. This is where the comparison to royal families and public dynasties becomes really clear. Fans love the glamour, the success, the lineage, but they also follow every misstep, every leaked moment of drama, every sign that what looks perfect from the outside might be more turbulent behind closed doors. In that sense, the Vargas family isn't so different from the royal households people follow so closely, admired, scrutinized, and never fully allowed to live in private. The real question now is what happens next. Do the brothers address the incident publicly? Do they post something together showing that whatever happened at the Wynn is behind them? Does their father step in and speak on it? Or does the whole family decide silence is better and let the internet move on to the next scandal? From a reputation standpoint, a lot could be repaired by handling this wisely, owning the mistake, presenting a united front, and reminding everyone that families, even famous ones, have conflicts, but they work through them. That could turn a negative viral moment into something more human, maybe even relatable. But if they ignore it, the clip will live on without context, and people will write their own version of events over and over. At the same time, the only real way for fighters to truly change the conversation is with their performances. If Fernando Jr. comes back strong in his next outing, if Amato keeps winning, and if Emiliano seizes his title opportunity on February 28th in an impressive fashion, fans and promoters will start talking about combinations, scorecards, and highlights again, not just hotel lobbies. Still, the lesson here is impossible to ignore. In today's world, especially for anyone who comes from a famous family, whether it's a royal dynasty or a boxing one, there is no such thing as a purely private outburst in a public place. One wrong moment can overshadow years of hard work, at least for a while. And once it's online, it becomes part of your story, whether you like it or not. So now the Vargas name stands at a bit of a crossroads. On one side is the proud legacy of El Feroz, the titles, the great fights, the new generation of talented sons ready to carve out their own place in the sport. On the other side is this messy, unfortunate scene in Las Vegas that people can't stop watching and reacting to. Which side will define the future of this boxing family? That depends on what they do from here, in the ring, in the gym, and yes, in public. What's your take on the incident at the Wynn? Do you see it as a normal family blow-up that just happened to go viral, or as a serious warning sign for a boxing dynasty that needs to get its house in order? And how much do you think moments like this should matter when we judge athletes and their careers? Let me know your thoughts, because whatever you think, one thing is clear: the Vargas brothers are being watched more closely than ever before, and every move from now on is gonna count.